If you're interested in preparing for a plant medicine ceremony, then this video is for you. This is Eddie with a Mindful Emergence, where Margaret and I offer mindfulness, movement, and breathing practices for spiritual integration. So, preparing for plant medicine ceremony. I was thinking of this in terms of primarily using magic mushrooms or psilocybin if you choose to do that and do it intentionally, therapeutically, not recreationally. I don't have any judgment on using medicines recreationally, but that's not the focus of this particular video. And even though I might be mostly referencing psilocybin, this could probably apply for the most part if you're working with other plant medicines like ayahuasca or San Pedro or peyote and so on. But also other medicines such as LSD and so on. It's very important that if you approach these medicines to give them the healthy respect that they desire and be able to prepare for them very thoroughly and also to integrate them. And integration is another topic that is for other videos, okay? Let's talk about preparation. So a lot of conversation revolves around set and setting for doing these kinds of ceremonies. And so let's talk about the setting first of all. If you're planning on doing a psilocybin ceremony, the first thing is to find someone and look very carefully and make sure you find someone that you can trust. Find someone who has experience. It's very, very important that there's a sense of safety when you're doing this. So, is this somebody who knows what they're doing, who has experience holding space, or perhaps they refer to it as guiding these kinds of ceremonies? And I recommend that you find two people to work with you rather than one. Why is this? Well, first of all, this ceremony is going to take several hours. And how do you know that at least one person is going to be with you during the entire time? People do sometimes have to go to the bathroom and so on. And also, ideally, you have a male and a female. There's something about that combination of male female energy holding space for you that many, many people who've done work in this area for a long time suggest as being very helpful. Spend time in the place that you're going to do ceremony. So go hang out, check it out. Does it feel comfortable? Do you have options? Do you have the ability, for example, to go outside if you want to? And if you go outside, is that a comfortable and safe environment for you to be in? Very, very important that you feel that you have options. Another thing is, what about the music? Typically, these type of ceremonies are supported by a playlist. And do you have any input into that music? Some people like classical music, and if you look at the Johns Hopkins playlist, it is heavy on classical. And there are some people who just don't like classical. So if you have a heavy laden classical playlist, that might not be supportive for you in your ceremony. Do you want sort of general ambient music, or do you want something more dynamic, very percussive and rhythmic? It's important that you be able to have some input into what kind of music is going to be provided. It's very important in the preparation stage to talk about how much you're going to ingest. Whether or not you're bringing your own medicine or it's being provided for you, if that's the case, it's very important to know just what the strength is and to talk about that. Also, find somebody to work with who has screened you, who knows how to screen you, how to look for certain contraindications. This is not for everybody, and there are certain medical situations where it's not appropriate to do journeys with plant medicine. And whoever you're working with needs to know that and knows how to screen you effectively. And medications, they need to know medications. They need to know, for example, are certain antidepressants, SRIs, and so on appropriate to be using when you're doing ceremony. Also, it's very important in your preparation stage to talk about uh, ways to manage physical and emotional discomfort. This can sometimes happen. Psilocybin in particular is very safe. However, you can have physical experiences like nausea that can be a little bit difficult. Uh, they should be able to give you suggestions on how to navigate that. And if you become really frightened during an experience, one of the conversations that should take place beforehand is, what do you want them to say to you if suddenly the bottom drops out and you're feeling terrified? Because this kind of thing can happen, particularly under your stronger doses that people take. All that kind of stuff should be talked about. We do preparation for people doing ceremony, and we cover all these areas very carefully. And we make sure that the person who is doing the ceremony has access to the space that they're in and is able to feel comfortable there. And one of the things that we do for people who during ceremony is that the second preparation session is a breathwork session. And we're talking about, in our case, integrative breathwork is what we offer, which is similar to holotropic breathwork, except it's not following the traditional model of 3 hours of breathing. It's much shorter. But it's a wonderful preparation for doing ceremony because it has somewhat of a similar impact on the default mode network in terms of enhanced consciousness. It's kind of like a dry run or a sample of what you might experience. And for someone who has no experience at all using these medicines, it can help prepare them and feel more comfortable when things start shifting under the effect of the medication. And also, there's one other thing that should be covered. If you have some kind of more serious issue, what is the protocol for handling that? Whether it's contacting someone or perhaps any other kind of intervention that's necessary. All these kinds of things are important. So that's the setting and part of the preparation. What about mindset? Well, mindset is the state of mind that you have when you're going into it. And I think establishing a really good mindset, a big part of it is what we just talked about. So that when you actually go to ingest the medicine, if you've done all these kinds of things, you're apt to be more relaxed and comfortable. But there are other things that you can do leading up. You can do certain types of mindfulness practices, establish quiet time, do some reflection, do some meditation, perhaps do some body work or movement practices like yoga and Tai Chi and Qigong and things like this that help you connect with your body, connect with your breath, be able to observe your mind and notice what arises and passes when you do that. Doing that can be very helpful. Also, it's very important to think about your intention. Why are you doing this? And in terms of intention, one of the things that Margaret and I have learned over time is that it's probably best not to set too specific an intention. In other words, let's say you have a fractured relationship with a family member. To go into a plant medicine ceremony and say, what I want is to heal the relationship with my brother or my father or whomever it is. The reality of it is, you don't know what's going to happen in the course of doing this ceremony. And what typically happens is that the psyche has a certain amount of material, if you will, that has enough emotional charge that when the default mode network loosens, this will come to the surface for you to work with. And you don't necessarily know what that is. So it's better to have an intention of, I am really open to whatever my experience is. Okay, those are my feelings about that. There are some other things that you can do to help prepare leading up to your ceremony to have a really good mindset. Another is learning breathing practices on how to lift your energy or balance or bring your energy down if you start feeling anxious. There are some wonderful breathing practices that you can do. And Margaret and I are very skilled in providing those and teaching those. Also, looking at your diet, maybe backing off on sugar and caffeine and certainly alcohol and cannabis, those kinds of things can be very helpful, kind of cleaning up your diet and getting rid of stimulants and things like that might be very helpful. Obviously, you want to look at this on an individual basis, but heading into a ceremony and you've been, hitting the Krispy Kreme donuts and the Red Bull really intensely might not be the best strategy for having a positive experience. So, another thing to do for preparation is to make sure that once you have completed your ceremony, that you have an integration process scheduled and in place. It astonishes me how many people do ceremony in various ways with various medicines, and there's no integration afterwards. People go down to South America to do ayahuasca, or they do all these different things, and then when they're done, they don't have any process with someone who has been holding space for them to unpack and make meaning of it. They've opened up all these new neural pathways, and they're not building on that. They're not taking what came from the ceremony and being able to integrate it into their life for effective change and using those insights in a positive way. So anyway, I know that this has been a fairly long video. If you've hung in there, congratulations. I've got a lot of other videos on the channel covering these types of topics. Invite you to check them out. If you like this video, give us a thumbs up and love to hear your comments. And of course, if you want more of this kind of content, please subscribe, hit the notification bell so when we upload videos, you won't miss any content. So thanks very much for watching.